was silent, and I could hear the sound of my camera shutter echoing against the walls as I watched Ava, an animal rescue specialist, treating an injured baby puffin on the examination table. I had spontaneously been invited to visit the only seabird rescue station in Iceland while I was traveling around the country, and as a photographer, I decided to follow my curiosity. Taking image after image, I observed as the little bird, or puffling as they're called, stood there lethargically, showing no resistance to Ava as she carefully inspected its wing and offered it some food before placing it back into its crate for the night. Just one day, after meeting this adorable little patient, I was told that it had unfortunately died. What I was left with was a photograph, an image that essentially told a much bigger story. A story of a species struggling for survival in the face of climate change, food shortages, and human interference. An image that many of you would have probably overlooked if it wasn't for me standing on the stage and asking for a couple of minutes of your attention. When was the last time that you saw a photograph that made you stop in your tracks and really think about what you were seeing? One that lingered in your mind, stirring thoughts and emotions for more than just a brief second. In this exact second, 57,000 images have been taken around the world. Each click of a button adds to the overwhelming amount of visual content that we're exposed to every day. And with an attention span of just about 8 seconds on average, we're processing less and less of the information that we're seeing. For conservation photographers like myself, capturing an image that truly resonates and makes an impact is becoming increasingly challenging. And yet, documenting stories of critical issues around the world and encouraging the protection of our environment is now more important than ever. In the last 40 years, we have lost over half of the Earth's wildlife. Every day, up to 150 species become extinct, while others are critically endangered. These problems are unlikely to stop anytime soon, and this is why, for the last 10 years, I have been using my camera as a tool for change. I document environmental issues and tell stories to inspire, educate, and move individuals like you to take action. Sometimes my work takes days or even months to produce. My images are highly dependent on seasons, on weather conditions, on the presence of animals, and on timing the perfect shot. And each image that I take also leaves a mark on the environment. Yet oftentimes, my pictures remain buried under a vast pile of content that is produced every day. For this reason, I have been struggling with an ongoing moral dilemma. Is creating yet another conservation photo truly helping to protect biodiversity, or is it adding to an avoidable environmental impact? Am I just helping my own conscience or the nature that I photograph? My passion for nature and empathy for other species began in my childhood. I was the girl rescuing baby bats, nursing little mice back to life, and taking care of sick and injured hedgehogs before winter set in. But it was one particular experience years later that made me realize that good intentions do not automatically translate into meaningful action, and that action does not always lead to impact. In 2020, I stood on the cliffs of an island in northern Germany, documenting a colorful but tragic scene with my camera. A northern gannet was struggling to integrate a piece of plastic into its nest, while a tiny chick was curiously peeking out from underneath its feathers. Hundreds of other nests were also filled with the exact same pieces of plastic that had originally come from fishing nets. Some of the birds were entangled in the material and were slapping their wings in an attempt to break free, while others already lied motionlessly on the cliffs. Armed with a portfolio documenting this crisis, I returned home, hopeful that my images would spark a public outcry and lead to long-term change. Yet despite my efforts, I felt alone and unheard. In fact, I came to realize that my images were just a small part of a larger chorus echoing the same message. Pictures and articles that had been produced before mine and did not result in any tangible action. To this day, 98% of gannet nests in northern Germany are still filled with plastic pollution. Instead of resolving the problem, I found myself confronted with an uncomfortable truth. Not only did my presence on the island lead to a disturbance of the very birds that I was seeking to protect, but by showcasing a charismatic species in a unique environment, projects like mine can also unintentionally attract more visitors to the area and put further strains on an already fragile ecosystem. Even the photographs themselves leave an environmental impact. Data centers that store images like mine are responsible for 25% of technology-related greenhouse gases that are produced today. Storing just 100 photos in the cloud per year produces the same amount of CO2 emissions as driving 17 kilometers by car. Now just imagine the effects of a photographer's ever-growing archive in which a single project can entail more than 10,000 shots. So how can photographs encourage long-term conservation efforts while still protecting the environment? While the true outcome of conservation photography often remains abstract, I think that the beauty of this line of work lies in its unpredictability. That the moments that are captured and the stories that come with them can be discovered by anyone at any time. And that it's never really known who the images will reach or how they will change their lives. But there is one aspect that has become clear to me. Conservation photography is no longer an isolated pursuit. It is no longer about going out into the field, capturing striking images of conflict and struggle, and hoping that they will spark change. Today, conservation photography must be about empowerment, about connection, and about hope. About aligning with projects and communities that need support, whether by raising funds, advocating for policy reforms, or providing people like you with the tools to create meaningful change. Today, my photographs no longer just focus on highlighting the problem. They also aim to showcase effective solutions. For the past 2 years, I have been documenting the tireless efforts of conservationists who are working hard to fight and combat marine plastic pollution. Specially trained divers who bravely extract lost fishing gear from the freezing dark waters of the Baltic Sea. Nets that would have otherwise been picked up by northern gannets. Scientists who are developing warning devices that prevent wildlife from becoming entangled in these exact same fishing nets. Wildlife, like harbor porpoise Freya, who can no longer be released back into the sea and now thrives at a research station in Denmark. And animal rescue volunteers who have successfully saved hundreds of animals through their persistence and dedication. My intention as a young girl was to be a voice for the voiceless and to help those that cannot help themselves. And for me, shedding light on all of these inspiring stories justifies the creation of yet another conservation photograph. Because it is these types of images that provide the blueprint for all of the subtle ways that you can become involved and create positive change. But as one person, I can only do so much to make a difference. Effective conservation goes beyond images and stories. It thrives in the actions and commitments of each and every one of us. It is only this way that the benefits of producing yet another conservation photo can outweigh the environmental costs. So now, the responsibility is in your hands. The next time that you see an image that sparks your interest, maybe one of a baby puffin at a rescue station, spend time with it. Take a moment to think about what you're seeing, to reflect on the thoughts and emotions that arise. And ask questions, because you never really know how the story that follows could have a positive effect on nature and transform someone else's life. And who knows, perhaps even your own. Thank you.